All right. Ready to start, baby?
Oh.
Brian H. Waters, ready to start?
I am. I'm on the front side.
Mic check, mic check.
Oh, you did a pet peeve.
I know. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
The people are ready.
We are ready. For a special edition of Where WWE Meets Pop Culture. And it's been a while, but we're back, and I have a very Brian H. Waters hates when people say that we're back on a pod. So I'm gonna change my intro and just say that this new edition of WWE Meets Pop Culture is back with me, Queen P.R. We are in. Thank you. We're in vacation mode.
Yes.
But we love working and we love working together. And I have been busy with a lot of other projects. And we haven't been able to stream live Monday nights before Raw for Where WWE Meets Pop Culture. And I wanted to make sure that we ended the year with some episodes. And I said, you know what? Why not have the wonderful Brian H. Waters on this edition of the show? I have never had a co-host on this show before, but who better?
Oh, thank you.
Than Mr. Brian H. Waters. So for those that are new to the show, welcome. For those who are avid listeners and watchers of pop culture, welcome back. I stream weekly and I share all of the fun news where WWE and pop culture intersect.
Yes.
It is the fun wrestling news is what I like to call it. And it definitely, as a fan, makes me very proud of where WWE and wrestling is going because it is everywhere. Everywhere.
It sure is.
You know, so we talk about all that fun news. We don't get into pay-per-view ratings, match ratings. We talk about literally the pop culture fun news that happens in wrestling. So welcome back and welcome to the show. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to our channel. Those Wrestling Girls. Shout out to my co-host Chris B. So I have 5 WWE pop culture stories that I want to talk to you about, Mr. Brian H. Waters. So it is the end of the year. It is December.
A year ago,
we started this show.
Yeah,
which is wild. We actually the brainchild was born on vacation.
Yeah, it was
last year around this time.
Crazy.
And
one day we'll take a real vacation.
One day. Our
honeymoon.
Well, let's say, I can't wait for that. Let's say we waited till the later end of the vacation to work.
Yeah.
I'll give us that. But we still worked because that's what we love to do. We love bringing content to you guys. So I have 5 wrestling and pop culture stories that I want to go over. And the reason why I brought up the fact that it's December is because one thing that a lot of people look forward to every year is Spotify Wrapped. I want to talk about that a little bit. First of all, I'm a title girl. Everybody knows that about me.
You know.
I am a title girl. As soon as Jay-Z announced he was coming out with a streaming service,
he was the first subscriber.
Me and my sister, shout out to Letty, were subscribers. Yes, 100%. 2015, 100%. And Tidal does have its version of Spotify Wrapped. Okay. It's called Tidal Rewind.
Oh, Tidal Rewind.
I see you try to come for us, but we do have it's called Tidal Rewind. Every month, Tidal listeners get a recap of what we listen to, and I look forward to that every single month, and we do get one every year. And Tidal Rewind did drop on the same day as Spotify Wrapped because
why would they do that?
You know, why would they
Why would they do that?
Why would they do that? Why would you trip him? Okay.
So what?
Oh man, so we are referencing Kofi Kingston and his argument with Xavier Woods about a month or so ago. And we actually did a pod talking about the 10-year anniversary of the New Day.
That's where you get your graps checked.
What came up on Monday Night Raw recently. So that's what we're referencing, which is really, really funny. So going back to Spotify Wrapped, I want to ask you, Brian H. Waters, what was your top 5 most streamed artists on Spotify, and then we're gonna get into something fun that TKO released about Spotify Wrapped.
Okay, top 5 artists was WWE. Kendrick, Glorilla.
He loves Glorilla.
Yeah, who else was in there? I think because I remember the songs.
Give me some of the songs.
Okay, the songs was Kingdom #1. I think because I was trying to learn the words at one point.
Is that Cody Rhodes theme song?
Cody Rhodes theme song, because I wanted to prove that I knew the words better than the Cody Crybabies. I Am Greatness, which is Roman Reigns' new theme song. Dun, dun. Yeah. Remember we heard that at Survivor Series? SummerSlam, and I lost my mind. My trouble chief was back. But yeah, Glorilla, because, that was a pregame, especially riding around town. Also a lot of date nights. But also then Euphoria. And then Roman Reigns Head of the Table. So those are my top 5.
Okay. So for my top 5 artists that I streamed on Tidal, if you care, was Jay-Z, Beyonce, Glorilla, Kendrick. Am I missing one person?
Was it
Glorilla, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Kendrick?
We had this conversation.
And one other person.
It wasn't Drake.
We're going to take a quick look because I'm very, very, very curious of who
see,
the listeners were.
But
okay.
What you call it? Not rap, but talk back? No, what did you call it?
It's called the Title Rewind. That's what you mean?
Yeah.
That's what it's really called.
Yeah, the Rewind.
Don't try to come for me. Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj.
Thank you, Brian. That were my 5 most streamed
Queen
artists.
P.R.
So it is very exciting because it's very much like, oh my God, like who am I as a person? Like who was my most listened to? Like it's very exciting to look back on. So TKO released their top 5 UFC walkout songs. Okay. And the top 5 WWE entrance songs. So I'm gonna read off these walkout songs and you let me know any of these where you're like, I totally get it. Number 1 was Many Men by 50 Cent.
Oh yeah, because everybody
That's so
thinks
good.
If you're a UFC fighter, you believe everybody's against you. You also believe and that's also like, that's a fight song.
It is a fight song.
That gets you hyped.
It gets you so hyped.
Yeah.
I can totally see that being on there. Number 2 was Heads Will Roll.
Not familiar.
The 8-track remix by Yeahs. And Patty Pimblett walked out to that song, I guess. Superstar by Lupe Fiasco. That's a good one.
I remember that song.
And then Move On Up by Curtis Mayfield.
Wow.
That's a shocker. And a Spanish one, Canción del Mariachi. By Antonia Banderas and the Los Lobos, which artist sounds very familiar. Yes, so I like the culture there. And then the top 5 WWE entrance songs that were streamed this year. I don't think you would be surprised that Kingdom, Cody Rhodes theme song was number 1.
Yes,
and you roll your eyes when you love that song. I Am Greatness, Roman Reigns, another one that was on your list. Demon in Your Dreams by Rhea Ripley. Is that the same one? Is that my bro? No, it's different. It's her new one, right?
But it does have that in there, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. It's WrestleMania opener.
Yeah. And then Voices by Randy Orton.
That's a classic.
Super classic. And Cult of Personality by CM Punk, which is also another classic theme
about Cody's
song.
Too. You remember, you covered this right here on this very show on Fanatics Fest. We kept hearing this song over and over. And at WWE World, over and over again. It's like missionary. Like, over and over. Loving it.
So I do love that other companies are getting into the whole Spotify Wrapped thing. I do want to note that Spotify Wrapped was started by an intern a Spotify intern a few years ago, and it was just a project that she came up with, and literally they like took it and ran with it. So I do want to give that intern a shout out, because that's really how innovation starts a lot of the time, is that one random voice in the room that has an innovative idea, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, this is the best thing ever. Spotify rap became a huge thing, and a lot of companies follow suit with that, because people want to know, what have I been listening to,
Yeah.
So before we move on to the next pop culture story, I want to know from you all in the comments, what was some of your most streamed artists? I want to know what your most streamed song was. If you are a WWE theme music listener on a regular basis, what was your number one? Was it Cody Rhodes? Was it Roman Reigns? Was it something a little bit more obscure? Because there's some bangers out there.
Well, you think about, we talked about this on a recent episode, Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Like, you had the theme music CDs, and back in the day, you think about songs, like just songs that just jump to mind. Like, if there was a such thing, like in the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Brood. The Brood is high.
Oh my God, that always comes to mind when I think about like really catchy theme songs that stand the test of time. Like, it's just so good, like so good.
Ultimate Warrior. Me, Ben, like Jim Johnson, just undefeated.
Yeah, he was so good.
We had this on the NWO, both the Wolfpack. The Wolfpack's music alone allowed it to be over.
Yeah, for sure. It's a huge part.
Back on the Wolfpack. You know who did that theme, right?
Who?
C Murder.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
That's when WCW and hip hop and the No Limit Soldiers were all intertwined.
Another aspect of WCW history that is not, I think, spotlighted enough was that integration with hip hop, Rey Mysterio, and all of that kind of stuff. And I think that
Rey Mysterio.
Right, exactly, who was actually really handsome back in the day. But I think that's something that we will definitely explore more on WWE Meets Pop Culture. I think it's just doing sort of a deep dive on hip hop culture and WCW, because WCW was based in Atlanta? And that is a big mecca for the culture and hip hop culture. So I would love to revisit that one day. So speaking of theme songs, and this is a good way to segue into my next story, is Lil' Kim doing Trish Stratus, one of Trish Stratus's theme songs back in the day. Which is so like, wait, what? Lil' Kim? Yes, she did Lil' Kim's theme song. I mean, Lil' Kim did Trish Stratus's theme song. Trish Stratus is the GOAT.
You already know how I feel.
She is the GOAT. Did
you do the thing?
Thank you, Trish.
Thank you, Trish.
Thank you for everything that you've been doing. So I wanted to bring up Trish Stratus because I talk about it on the show all the time, of just how well she has been able to prolong her brand outside of the ring up in Canada. And she's been doing it for years now. We celebrated, I think, the 20th or 25th anniversary of her website, TrishStratus.com. We celebrated this on the show because she knew that she needed a website. Like, she was like, I'm going to grow this brand. I'm going to keep my brand moving, whether or not, even if I don't wrestle again. She has a very thriving brand and business, and still to this very day. So today, actually, when we're recording this, December 6th, is the anniversary of her and Lita main eventing Monday Night Raw. The first women to ever main event Raw. It is a moment that women's wrestling fans talk about all the time. WWE talks about it all the time. Her and Lita are doing a special event for the fans, and they've been promoting it and everything like that. I really would love to have been able to go. But I think it's really cool for their fans and for them to be able to do something like that, Team Bestie. And I hope that it's the first of many events of that nature, of just being able to connect with their fans. And the things that Lita and Trish are offering are like amazing, like exclusive merch, cocktails with them, Like I cannot wait to see and hear the feedback for this event. But the reason why I wanted to bring up Trish Stratus for the show is because she's on the cover of Inside Fitness magazine. And I want to bring up this cover because she looks fucking absolutely amazing. And I think what's important to note is that she looks just as good on this cover as she did when she was on the cover for the very, very, very first time. So Trish, who is very well known for being a fitness expert, being a fitness guru, bringing a yoga. She was a fitness model who was discovered and realized she wanted to become a wrestler. So she was on a talk show in Canada, and she talked about the cover. And we was able to find out that this is her 111th magazine cover.
I just want one.
Right. Just one. Just put 100, over 100
Shout out to her, man.
Covers. And when you look at Trish, it's like, yeah, I would look at her on a magazine cover any day. But the work ethic that comes behind that, you know, being able to stay in shape, to be able to bring her best, to bring her A game to these magazine covers. It's the 4th time she was on the cover of Inside Fitness. And what I want to say about that is her relationship with Inside Fitness. So she talked about it on this talk show, and she talked about her knowing the editor and the founder of this magazine. And it was very new. And he tapped into Trish Stratus to like kind of build this relationship, like make, you know, I want my magazines to grow. I want to put you on the cover. And they've been collaborating ever since. And I love hearing about their sort of relationship. So this would be the 4th time she was on the cover of Inside Fitness. And another thing that she mentioned that I am always very passionate about, because I am a millennial. I love media. I've always loved magazines. I've always loved newspapers and bookstores. And it saddens me when I hear about all these magazines that are now like razor thin, or the ones that like went out of circulation. And she, you know, noted that like, I love that Inside Fitness is still a thing, because there aren't a lot of physical fitness magazines out there right now. So the fact that she was able to be on the cover of this magazine meant a lot to her. You've been a long time Trish Stratus fan.
Yes.
And you saw her recent cover on Inside Fitness. And you know, hearing about what she's doing with Lita, like how does it feel to know that like your GOAT is still out here killing it?
I mean, it just solidifies everything you've been saying for the past 20 years. You know, I think, well, it's obvious, like, I'm a male, and most heterosexual males at that time was in love with Trish Stratus. Like, you know, shout out to the homie, Chris Van Vliet. He said, you know, you're my high school crush. I said, oh, that's the first time I heard that before. But it's like, she was everybody's high school crush. But the thing is, like, we fell in love with her because of how she looked when she made her debut at the, I think it was the end of 1999, beginning of 2000. But as we went into like the 2002, 2003, well, 2001, where she won her first world championship at Survivor Series and so forth, and she just kept getting better. It wasn't just the looks. It was also her in-ring ability, her ability to tell stories inside the ring, outside the ring, cutting promos. And it's like, this is why she's the GOAT. She literally can do it all, whether it's in the ring, out the ring, in the public eye, she crosses over. And so it just makes you say, shout out to her, you know. Shout out to her for also being able to kind of like put her wrestling career on pause. Right. Become a mom.
And she can come and go as she pleases, which is so amazing as well. So she also shared a couple recipes on this show. She showed a recipe for a protein shake that she actually shares with her kids. Put the link in the description so you can check that out. And she also showed a recipe for a fun like mason jar cake that's really easy to make, that you can like give as gifts or have in your house for, you know, souvenirs or something like that. So please check Trish Stratus out talking about all of this. If you were able to attend the special main event that her and Lita did, I would love to know what your thoughts are. So please DM me or leave some comments about the experience, because that's an event for the real fans. And I hate that term, real fans.
I know
but Trish and Lita and women's wrestling fans, there's a connection to the two of them that is so rich. And that main event night, people remember like it was freaking yesterday. And even if the significance at the time wasn't felt, it's definitely felt now.
And they capitalize more on their rivalry than a lot of other people, than a Rock and Austin, than Undertaker and Kane to an extent.
I think it helps to them being best friends.
I was going to say, it helps them being best friends. It also helps them having to be pioneers for their style of wrestling, for women's wrestling. Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair didn't capitalize as much. You see them do stuff together, but not the tours like this. So this is amazing.
And then it's not powered by WWE. So I'm so curious to see the turnout for that and the support that they get. And I hope that they do more of these sorts of events. I know there's not a lot of anniversaries after a while, but I want more wrestlers to capitalize on that like passionate fan base they have, because we're willing to travel. Wrestling fans are willing to spend money. I think the world now is coming to terms with that, and why WWE has been breaking so many records lately.
It's making tickets harder to get.
It is making tickets harder to get, but I'm happy to see the industry thrive.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to talk more about my background.
Also worked in so many places of media, which you will find out more. Two friends who like wrestling and talk about wrestling. Sounds driving. To now, let's start a podcast.
And grassroots style, the way me and Brian have done it. Every opportunity is an opportunity. Kind of makes me want to step my game up a little bit more, just because the space is so oversaturated. Anyone can start a podcast. I live in New York City, so there's opportunity everywhere in New York. Like everyone's doing something. You go to a bar for happy hour, the bartender has a business.
And you apply that same strategy to Netflix. You being very intentional. Find your why. What's the reason? Then do it.
Podcasting allowed me to break out of my comfort zone, to break out of my shell. So next on the docket is I want to talk about one of the most passionate wrestling fans that showed up last week and made a huge splash, because even to this day a lot of people were like, I didn't know she liked wrestling. Vanessa Hudgens.
Yes.
Okay. I talked about her previously. She actually skipped Coachella.
I remember that.
To go to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Okay. Granted, she was pregnant, but like she said that's where she wanted to be. Her husband, a professional baseball player. Good job, girl. Also, big wrestling fan. So they showed up last week to the show and had the best time. They met a bunch of people. They were able to, Vanessa Hudgens was able to talk to Triple H and kind of go in guerrilla and see the behind the scenes. And you could just see the reaction on her face that was something that she probably always wanted to do. Like you said, she is a fan just like us. How did it feel? Just like us. Just like us. When you see celebrities like Vanessa Hudgens come to these shows and beat us, passionate fans, screaming their heads off, how does it make you feel as a lifelong fan, as someone that works in media, someone that mixes it up with celebrities and stuff like that? How does it feel to see that?
It's always good to see that. You know what I mean? It's always good to see fellow wrestling fans come together. It's like this family, this conglomerate. Most of the time, it's like when you see somebody, it's like, yo, they look like they some executive who don't want to be there. They was just a plan. They just had, okay, go see this wrestling thing.
They're going to put the camera on you, wave.
Yeah, it's like, all right, whatever. Like, we go back to one of our favorite shows, Heels, when they were doing the State Fair. And they put on the story, and it was like you could see someone was like, all right, we gotta do this thing. But then someone did get hooked, but it's always fun when you can see the diehards, you know what I mean? I bring up heels like Stephen Amell, him getting in the ring, mixing it up, and him having an opportunity to wrestle at SummerSlam, the second or third, whichever way you fall under, the biggest event of the year. So I love it. I love seeing celebrities. I love seeing athletes get a chance to do that. Like Carmelo said that he hasn't gotten a chance to go to a show yet, but he did talk about in his book, Tomorrow's Never Promised, he talked about growing up watching wrestling. He talked about how much of a wrestling fan he was. So it's an amazing
I love
thing
that.
to see.
I really do appreciate that. And how surprised were you to learn that Vanessa Hudgens was a big Rhea Ripley fan?
I'm not surprised.
Not surprised at all.
In 2024, it's almost hard to find somebody who doesn't like Rhea.
She's just
A feud. Like,
she's
you may
everything.
not root for her in a feud, right?
She's captivating.
Yeah.
You're gonna watch everything she does.
It's easier to find somebody who don't like Roman Reigns or don't like Cody Rhodes, or even in this case, don't like The Rock, than you will find who don't like Rhea Ripley.
It's so true. And just to go back on the whole like celebrities being wrestling fans, I will never forget, my dad would always say it's kind of like an inside club.
Yes.
Where you just get it. Like you meet someone that gets it, they get it, and you're just automatically like in the club together. Like, period. And working in Midtown, I see at least one wrestling shirt a day in passing.
Sure.
In passing. And there's always that like, oh, I like your shirt. And then you can see that recognition where it's like, wait, she gets my shirt. You know, like this shirt, for example, that you have on. I love a good t-shirt design. It's a great t-shirt design. I love the color scheme. I love it, everything. Bright colors look very good on you, Brian H. Waters. But at the end of the day, like, who is this guy on your shirt?
Kobe Kingston.
But if you're walking down the street and someone's like, hey, I love your shirt, or Kofi Mania, dude, there's that instant connection there where it's like, I don't know you, man, and you don't know me, but you know this, and that's really cool.
I was going to say that, like, I used to work at a 4-letter, ESPN, and there were a lot of friendships born on wrestling where I never forget, you may remember Royal Rumble 2023, where San Antonio, we see my good friend Marcus. The way me and Marcus became friends was one night, everybody's out playing basketball, and they said, let's do something this Sunday or such and such. And I said, oh, that's Survivor Series. And Marcus goes, yeah, I think I'm going to watch Survivor Series. I was like, oh, you're a wrestling fan. And ever since then, we talk wrestling. My good friend Kahar, somebody was talking wrestling. I'm walking past, and the person who knew I was a wrestling fan, Brian, what did you think about such and such? And this is during the time, it was a very hard time to be a wrestling fan. At the time, it was 2000. No, it wasn't a hard time. It was where it was very divided, where Daniel Bryan was on the rise, and everybody wanted Daniel Bryan. And that was a thing where, me and him instantly became friends. And then it's like you find wrestling as the thing that brings you together, and then your friendship blossoms. Kind of like the way those wrestling girls started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I love that like instant connection that people have once you find out that like you're a wrestling fan, and those friendships that build from that.
It's wrestling your DMs.
And that, yes.
Was actually professional. Get you on the show.
You're right. But it was all in the heart of wrestling, which is really, really, really cool. And I say that to say, Vanessa, I love you, girl. I would love to interview you about your love for WWE. That would be a dream come true. So I want to go back in the throwbacks real quick, because I know you're a little older. Do you remember Saturday night's main event?
I don't know the music. Yes. Saturday's night's main event. Sure do. It's so funny because when you're a child, you don't realize it's a special. You just know, you hear wrestling comes on because you see an advertisement, and then you turn it on, and then it's like, wait, the next week is like you getting ready to go to church. Like, ain't wrestling on? No, not tonight, Brian. But yes, I definitely remember Saturday night's main events. I'm not one who can tell you I remember the matches I was watching.
But you know how iconic it is for it to be coming back.
It's one of the dopest logos too.
It really is a very dope logo, and it is coming back. It will be in New York next Saturday, and God willing, Krista B and I will be in the building. Thank you, WWE. And it's going to be iconic. We have Jesse Ventura coming back to do commentary. I'm sure I heard like Wendy Richter might come back. Like they're really bringing back the throwbacks. Like wrestling is at a point where they are doing it all. Like they're like, we're gonna touch on every fucking generation that ever liked wrestling. We're gonna introduce wrestling to all the newbies and all of these different things. They're actually gonna bring it to another city in January. Like I think Saturday night's main event is gonna be a regular thing, which is really cool and fun.
San Antonio.
Yes, and
shout out to Seahawk.
Yes, shout out to Seahawk. But how do you feel about this coming back in the midst of wrestling's popularity going back up? Like, do you think that this was warranted? Like, what are your overall thoughts?
Oh, I'm more excited about this now than I was in like the Ruthless Aggression era. Cause there was a Saturday night's main event with like John Cena, like I think like MVP and Matt Hardy. So that's just the time frame. But when that was happening, it was cool at the time. Don't get me wrong. It was like, oh yeah, we got wrestling on Saturday nights, whatever. But I always say that was a lot of forgettable period in wrestling where this one feels like it should, like it did when we were younger. Very pay-per-view-esque, right? You take, not to jump too much into graps, but just the fact that the matches that's on there are matches that could have been at Survivor Series. Right. So that's what makes me excited. Like I said, just the fact, like you mentioned, Jesse Ventura. Like Jesse Ventura is somebody who goes away from wrestling, comes back to wrestling, goes away from wrestling, comes back to wrestling. So that's what's exciting about it. And I cannot wait. And prayerfully, I'll be in there too.
Oh my God, I really hope you are going to be there. It's a huge moment for WWE that we've talked about a lot, and it's growing, and which is why I love doing this show, because we get to talk about how it's expanding and how it's going to reach older fans, newer fans, classic fans, like all of the above. So speaking of reaching new fans, I want to get into WWE on A&E.
Yeah.
So that was, 2 or 3, 4 years ago, I want to say. It was a partnership that came to be, and there was a lot of biographies that were released, and then that turned into another show, the Hidden Treasures show. So, a press release just came out about 2 new shows that are going to be debuting on WWE on A&E, which I'm excited about. So the first is Legends and Future Greats.
Okay.
And that is going to be a competition show, which chronicles prospective people that want to get into the wrestling business, as well as the greats being able to mentor this next generation. Yes. So we've seen WWE competition shows. I am particularly not a fan of these sorts of shows, but someone that has watched Tough Enough and all of these different shows. What were your thoughts when you heard about this show? The legends involved will be Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, which I don't think any of that surprises you. But how do you feel about this new competition show coming to A&E?
It's interesting. I think we're at a point in time, as you say that, I think about WWE's at a point in time where they're printing money. They're in such high demand. Now, we saw this as children of the Attitude Era. The reason why they hit rock bottom is because there was a point in time where it could only go on for so long, right? Because with the emergence of the UFC, wrestler fans got older. Wrestler fans was like, oh, wait a minute, but we want as much blood and gore as we can get. Oh, well, they doing that at UFC. Why am I going to watch wrestling? So what happens is you dial it back, and then once you dial it back, they had to go PG. The fact that they're doing this in a PG era, right? Which you could say they was doing that in the Hogan era. But guess what? There's something that's not looming. There's no steroids looming. So you don't have to reprogram the audience, right? So I think we're on another stratosphere that's just like everybody wants a piece of WWE. That's true. Whether you're A&E, Vice, or whomever. And I think now this is going to be very interesting. I watched Tough Enough the last season. I didn't watch it earlier before, but it was at a time when I was, getting very heavy into content creating. So I was very interested in it. And now I think, because that's another thing. every time there's a new WWE show, that's an opportunity for content creators. People going to recap stuff. People going to put their opinion. So I'm excited about it. I think this is
I am
good.
too. And I didn't mention Booker T as also one of the greats.
Oh, yeah.
Or legends that are going to be mentoring the future greats. And I think this is also cool too because, you know, WWE has their own NIL program, which is also like super legendary as well. So I think this all sort of just feeds into itself. I talk a lot about the progression of wrestling and how the people that are successful in it now have a responsibility to keep it moving forward. And this is just another show that does that. We were joking earlier, we were reading about the A&E stuff, that one thing WWE's gonna do is repurpose their fucking media content because they have a lot of it and they've always been on the forefront of media and, you know, VHS tapes or video packages or just how to use their photography and video clips to their advantage before it was even a thing, because that's what you did. You had these characters, you had to have them live and breathe in between the weekly shows, and that's how you did it through their media. What'd you say?
No, they want. Remember, the story is they wanted a TV station. They wanted a cable station.
Yep. And that was WWE Network was one of the first streaming services.
Yeah, because they was denied. They said, okay, you don't want to give me my own channel? We'll create WWE Network.
Exactly. And it was. Oh my God. So I love that they're probably just going to record the journey of these prospects. These prospects would have already been going through what they're going through. And I feel like if they, who we met in Cleveland, who I thought was a celebrity when he walked into the Cleveland Browns stadium. Yeah. Kind of find out he was just a prospect to get signed, and he did get signed. He did have that it factor, and I believe you have an interview with him on your YouTube channel, on the Ringers YouTube channel, and he got signed. And I feel like this show is they're just putting cameras on a process that was already going to happen, which I love. Another new show. That's going to be premiering on A&E, and I think it's another very brilliant way of WWE repurposing their media content is WWE Greatest Moments. And according to the press release, this will basically chronicle some of the biggest moments in WWE history, the behind the scenes look on some of the biggest moments. I will bet money that there will probably be interviews that we've seen already, because we've seen every piece of WWE content ever, every talking head that probably ever spoke in a documentary. But I also want to see what new they add. Like what is a moment that you hope they cover the behind the scenes of in this new show that you don't think you've heard it all before? Like, and when I say heard it all before, like Montreal Screwjob, for example, like I think we've exhausted every perspective that you can possibly have on this. But what is a moment that shaped WWE's history that you hope they cover on this show this season?
Ooh, that's a great question. I can go a couple. One, I think, would be, honestly, Cody not finishing the story. We're going to hear about Cody finishing the story, but I would like to see them going behind Cody not finishing the story. I would like to see them go behind Bianca losing to Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch's comeback, because we've heard it. And then Bianca finishing, kind of finishing her story. And then one last one, I just need him to retire. But the Yes Movement, I would love to see some new voices, some new talking about the Yes Movement.
And we've talked about this before, where WWE documentaries or the narrative of WWE a few years ago was very like clean cutter, very PC. And I have the belief that documentaries like Dark Side of the Ring that were actually produced very well with people that actually lived it kind of forced WWE's hand to be a little bit more transparent in their documentaries. And I do think that the A&E documentaries took a lot of that, and we've heard more raw stories than I think they would have ever shared in the past, like Shawn Michaels nodding off, and I've talked about this on the pod before. So what I hope is that even if it is a moment that we've learned about or heard about before, I do hope that they add a little bit more context to it and make it a little bit more spicier and juicy, which I do think that they will do this time around. So A&E will not be renewing the biography series, at least not in this iteration of WWE on A&E.
I love that series.
I did love it. But Rivals is coming back.
Okay.
And let me read off some of the rivalries
I can't wait
that they will be chronicling this season.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior.
Interesting.
Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Ooh. And what I think is really important to note as well about these A&E docs, and I'm sure you guys have noticed that one thing WWE are masterful at is programming.
Yes.
Programming. Cody Rhodes or Dusty Rhodes doc coming out right before he finished the story. Mm-hmm. Or there's a couple other ones that was like, I see what y'all did there. So I'm sure that these rival episodes are going to all kind of come together with the current product in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
So that makes me even more excited about what comes to be. Also, there's an emphasis on never before seen. All the marks out there, I'm sure they felt like they have heard everything they needed to hear about Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. I feel like this A&E doc is going to show so much more than you can even imagine, and which is what makes that partnership with A&E so special. And I'm really excited for this new season of all of that. And we will be reviewing all of those documentaries and giving our perspective on it. I think 2025 is going to be such a blockbuster year for the company. Just in the spirit of this show, stars have been all over the NBA. They have been all over the NFL. They've been all over everywhere, the UFC, everything. And I cannot wait to come back with a bang for this show back in 2025. And I want to thank you,
of course,
Brian H. Waters, for
That's one thing I want to know,
joining me.
Because you said 2025 would be a blockbuster. And we really think about it. If you think back to a few years, right? 2022 was a WTF year for WWE. Like, what the fuck just happened? With, all allegations. 2023 was like a rebuilding year. That's when the company was. So 2024 was like, okay, let's put our foot down. We was there at WrestleMania when Stephanie McMahon Levesque came out there and said, "Welcome to the Paul Levesque era," and that was like the stamp.
Oh man! I mean, she was like, "This is my man's business now."
Exactly, with the WrestleMania, and you look at the logo. That was WrestleMania Triple H, right? That big old X and L. What colors was it? Green, and that it was a Triple H DX green.
Your football team.
Anyway, so you look at that, but now, like you said, and I'm just adding on to what you said, the blockbuster year for WWE is coming, and I'm excited. It's an exciting time to be a fan of this business. It's an exciting time to be a voice of the business, a expert in this business, a content creator, you name it. And so I'm excited. And look, call us A&E.
We here.
Yeah.
We ready. We're equipped. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you,
H. Waters, for joining me on this special edition of Where WWE Meets Pop Culture. And I want to welcome everyone back. I want to welcome all the new listeners, and I hope that you stay subscribed and stay tuned for more future episodes. And on that note, I will catch you guys next time.